Good morning, everyone. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So, I like to dive right in. First thing I want to talk about are our I-140s. We've had some issues lately, y'all. So, the I-140 is either going to be your first or second application that you file with an employment-based green card. And the I-140 essentially tells the Immigration Service that, who the company is that is sponsoring the individual, what the company does, what they want the individual to do, and whether or not they can pay the salary. That is sort of essentially what our I-140 does for us. So recently we've seen a little perplexing RFEs coming out of the Immigration Service, and those RFEs have been asking for a copy of the PERM application, if a PERM application was required, as well as a copy of the prevailing wage determination. And they've been sort of issuing those through RFEs, which are requests for further evidence. USCIS has confirmed that this should not be happening, that a full copy of the PERM application as well as a full copy of the prevailing wage determination are not required. Because the officers have access to both of those full documents through the flag system. So USCIS has said that this is in fact a training issue that they are working on. So if you are one of the lucky ones to have received one of those RFEs, one, I say absolutely respond to it. But two, we should be seeing less and less and less of those until those specific issues are fully trained in terms of getting all the officers trained, and so we should see those RFEs sort of go away. And there's a lot. It takes time to get information out to the different officers. So it's great that USCIS has said, hey, we get it. Thank you for letting us know. It's a training issue. We're on it. So the second thing I want to talk about this morning are we've had some issues with individuals being able to access their I-94 data online. Currently, you access your I-94 data online, which includes your current I-94 card as well as your travel history. If you are in non-immigrant status and you're traveling in and out of the country, it's always good to check your I-94 data when you come in the country. Make sure that you are admitted in the right status, the status that matches your visa. But also, sometimes if you're outside of the U.S., you also may want to pull down what was your most recent I-94 as well as your travel history. Well, right now, the computer system is glitching such that people are reporting that they are unable to access this data from the CBP website if they are in fact outside of the U.S. CBP is aware of this issue. They are working on this issue. It sounds a little bizarre, but we've heard sort of a temporary workaround is it is being suggested that we enter the client's birthday one day later than the actual birthday when requesting the I-94 record if they're outside of the country. At this time, it's sort of maybe this kind of wonky situation happening within the software. So try that. If it works, great. Odd, but great. If it doesn't work, understand and know that CBP is in fact working on it. Obviously, if you're one of my clients, you'll just shoot me an email and we'll pull it down for you. And that certainly is not a problem. But just be aware that you will most likely get an error message if you're outside of the US, you're trying to access any of your own I-94 data. The next thing I want to talk to y'all about is really specifically for international students and for folks that surround themselves with international students. It appears, I did not hear the interview myself, but it has been brought to my attention by several international students that our incoming president did an interview and said that his administration was going to provide green cards to international students. Understandably, international students were elated to hear this information. And listen, I don't want to be super negative about this, but here's what I will say about this. Currently, international students are not automatically given green cards, right? Like that's just not a part of our current rules and regulations and policies. So currently, as of today, that is not a thing. Now, international students can certainly, come here, be international students, and then, change their status to another non-immigrant status, or, apply for a green card. There are different avenues. But in terms of an international student being here in F1 status, and then automatically after that F1 status, their automatic next step is a green card, we don't have that in the rules yet. So will this happen? I don't know. My crystal ball is kind of dark on this one. I don't know. Is it the law now? Absolutely not. That I do know. Would I rely on information directly from this interview? No, I wouldn't. And the reason I wouldn't is because it was an interview, right? It's not law. And so we're not going to rely on things that are not written down and in the books yet. So to my international students, I will say this: we are certainly keeping track of anything that impacts international students, and frankly, that impacts immigrants in any way, shape, or form in our practice. And so we will certainly let you know if this becomes closer to reality, if we, have a policy memo, if we have rules, if we have, a process surrounding that, we will certainly let you know. But as of right now, today, that is not the case. Which leads me to the next thing that I want to talk about. Executive orders, policy changes, and new laws all take time. They take time to draft, they take time to publish, they take time to get all of the various approvals that are needed inside of the various governmental agencies. I used to be an adjudicator at headquarters at USCIS in Washington, D.C. The process takes time. Like, there is a process. So a social media post or an interview is not new law. It is at most an indication of what a sitting or incoming president wants to do. It is at most sort of a bird's eye view of what their new policies may be. But as of right now, all social media posts, they're not law. There's nothing that says a social media post or an interview immediately becomes law and immediately becomes policy. So I always remind people about that. So at the moment that post goes online, it is not law. Again, it is at most an indication of what a sitting or incoming president wants to do in their administration. Also, there are thousands of immigration officers throughout the country, as well as officers in the consulates spread out across the world overseas. It takes time for any new policy, executive order, or new law. It takes time for those officers to receive that information, and with that information, instructions of how to change how they are currently processing cases. So it takes time. With my crystal ball, I do think we will see a lot of changes coming up with the new White House administration. If the previous administration, is any indication of how many changes we'll see a lot of changes, probably happening very rapid fire. Just like the last time, we will be here. We will help you navigate them, and we're here. But as of right now, I just always want to remind people that these changes all take time. So executive orders have to be written, policy changes, new laws, like there's a process for all of this, and, it takes some time. So, but don't worry, we are here. We will keep you up to date. I go live on Monday mornings. We also tackle a lot of this in our newsletter. So if you want to be if you want to get the newsletter, just shoot me a DM with your email address. We can certainly put you on that. And the last thing I want to talk about is a national interest waiver tip. So we know that the national interest waiver is a green card category. It is a second preference employment-based category. To qualify for a national interest waiver, you have to show that your proposed endeavor has substantial merit and national importance. Second, that you as the individual are well positioned to advance your proposed endeavor if the green card is issued. And third, on balance, that it would be beneficial to the United States as a whole to waive the requirements. Waiving the requirements essentially means waiving the PERM process, the labor certification process. Those two terms are really used interchangeably. And that means waiving the requirement for advertising for a qualified U.S. citizen. So my tip is this. I've been getting certainly more emails and more phone calls from individuals that are in STEM fields that want to petition for their green card through national interest waiver. STEM fields are great. STEM fields are cool. I love STEM fields. I'm not a STEM person myself, but I love the STEM fields, right? STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. However, just because you are in a STEM field does not mean that a national interest waiver EB2 green card will automatically be approved. You still must meet the requirements. The fact that you have a lot of STEM experience, that you're very niche down is great. You have a lot of documents, but we still have to show that your proposed endeavor has substantial merit and national importance. We still have to show that you are well positioned to advance your proposed endeavor, and we still have to show that on balance is beneficial to the United States to waive the usual EB2 requirements. So STEM is great. I think STEM is somewhat easier for officers to understand because it's very hardcore. There's nothing sort of fluffy about STEM, right? But we still have to show that you meet the requirements. So STEM is not an automatic approval when it comes to national interest waiver. So I just want people to remember that, keep that in mind. I am certainly telling people as we are doing, as we are evaluating their cases for national interest waiver. And it could be that you're a STEM, could be that maybe national interest waiver maybe isn't your best route. When you meet with me, we talk about national interest waiver, if that's what you initially want to talk about. But then I also look and see if there are other avenues for you to achieve the same goal of getting your green card. So that is all I have for you this Monday morning. If you have any questions about, immigration or maybe what you've heard in the news or on social media, feel free to give my office a call. If you're looking to hire someone that's not a U.S. citizen, we are here for you. And for that, we happily have a consultation with you. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday and a great rest of your week. Talk to y'all soon.